I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 Village of Ashwaubenon Park and Rec Board meeting. Roll call, please.
Mark Castonia,
Here.
Donovan Miller,
Here.
Tracy Flukie, here. Aideen Hess,
Here.
Heidi Murphy, here. Chris Serbo,
Here.
and Deb Lundberg is excused.
Please stand for a national anthem. National anthem. Pledge of allegiance.
I'm not saying. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please keep in our thoughts our brave men and women helping to serve and protect our country. Action on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion to accept and second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Comments from a public, I do have one. It's from an Evelyn. Rick, what's that?
It's
What did
a
I say?
written
Oh, comments from the public.
Yep.
I'll get my stuff together here.
It's all right.
Comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda, must state name and address, limited to 5 minutes. Board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personal issues cannot be discussed nor individuals named, and board is not able to take action at this meeting. There's nobody in the audience and nobody on the interweb, so we will move on. Okay, now written communications. I have something from an Evelyn McGowan. Tim and crew, thank you for the great work you accomplished at 1116 Orlando Drive in 2022. One huge street, tree down, stump ground, all cleaned up and nice grass growing. We as villagers are well taken care of by all with great appreciation. And I agree, we all are well taken care of. All right, action on consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
I could second that.
Under discussion, just a couple corrections. Page 3 or packet page 7, the second paragraph, component is spelled incorrectly, I believe. Let's see. Page 7.
Is that it, Chris?
Under C, and then the other one, top of page 8, talks about, and Rex, maybe you could clarify this, Broadway and Hanson, it mentions a sign at Broadway and Hanson. I'm thinking that's the one maybe further to the north that this is referring to. It says, we asked at the village, the current sign on Broadway and Hanson will be considered for turning and have verbiage on the reverse side. So I'm thinking that's the one further north from Hanson, if I'm thinking of the right spot where the access point is to the trail.
I'm thinking it's that one that's in place already, correct? That's been in question for some time.
Yeah, I think it's the one,
I think that's the exit to the current trail in between Bay Harbor and WPS.
yeah, so maybe just saying it's not at
That's the one
Hanson.
that's the one we're talking about turning. So you
Right,
can see it on both sides.
right.
So it's the mid-block one.
But in the minutes, it sounds like it's at Hanson, but it's not at Hanson, it's further north. I don't know what a good describer is for it there, but, yeah.
Mid-block? Mid-block, yeah, sure.
Or, yeah, you could just put adjacent to the Bay Harbor condominium entryway. A little more descriptive.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we need to change the motion or just as is with changes?
I'll make a motion to accept the changes.
And I can second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second with the changes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Action items. A, discussion and possible action on Ashwaubomay Maintenance Building bid recommendation. Rex?
Okay, this is really our main item tonight, so I'd like to thank everyone for coming in. I know it's only one item, but it's an important one because, you know, the village board many times looks to our group here for a recommendation, you know, for a project of this size, and it's a fairly good-sized project that we've been talking about for a number of years now. So we rebid the proposed Ashwaubomay Park Maintenance Building. Bids were opened last week. And you can see what the bid tab is. We had more bidders this time. Back in 2022, we had 2 bidders. This time we had 5. And we were a little bit more clear on some of the potential alternates, depending upon how those bids came in, about getting the price down, potentially to our little more comfort level. As such, you can see on the bid tab where we're at. So we had 5 bidders. Again, this is for the Ashwaubomay Park Maintenance Building. Currently, we've got a building that was used back in the day. It was, I believe it was here on Cormier Road. Before that, the whole village hall was relocated here. It was a maintenance building over there on Cormier. And they basically picked it up and just plunked it out of Ashwaubomay. So it's in very poor shape, very poor shape. There's no concrete floor or anything. It's just right on the dirt. Of the park. So it's creating issues, especially as that park gets busier. We're storing more stuff in there. We're using it more due to the nature of what's happening out at Ashwaubomay. So it's time. We're looking to try and get a building that's functional, nothing fancy, a light switch, a spigot for water on the outside to wash things down, and more storage space, obviously. So those specs went out. I mean, in a nutshell, the prices came back. You can see where those prices are. The base price itself was still about $100,000 over what we wanted. But with the alternates, if you kind of compared some of the things, alternate number 1 was a downsizing it to a 40 by 60 building, which would still suit our needs. We still all feel comfortable with that. So our recommendation is to accept alternate 1, which would save us some money.
Rex, what size is the building now? Do you know?
I want to say it is 30 by 40.
So this would be bigger.
It would, yeah,
Would you continue using that old building?
gone,
You're going to demo it?
gone,
Okay.
recycled.
Would you demo first and then build on that site? Or
The way
is
they
this
have
a
it
different-
planned out, if things go well, we'll be able to continue to use the building and make an easy transition with materials once the new building is built. So we don't think we have to worry about that.
Where is it in the park? Is that down on the
That's
south end?
that's the yellow building. When you're as soon as you pull into the park, it's on the right-hand side.
Okay, like right on the south border?
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Rex, on that original bid, the base bid of $469,000, was that based upon a, what was that, 40 by 60 or 40 by 80 building?
That was a 40 by 80.
And it included a metal roof,
Included the metal roof and included expanded asphalt around the building.
asphalt around the building, and also, did that include a frost wall?
That includes the frost wall.
Okay.
So
So the only difference on alternative 1 is just the change in the size of the building.
right, each one of these alternatives is exactly each thing that you just mentioned.
And also in that base bid, was that also for a metal siding on it as well?
It's going to be a combination. It's going to be brick up to a certain level as required by code, and then it'll be metal going up with with concealed fasteners.
Okay.
So alternate 1. So right now, if you take a look at the bid page, IEI General Contractors is the low bidder. And so let's just take them, for example, moving across the board. We would save, off of the $469,000, we'd save $49,000 by bringing it down to a 40 by 60, which I said before is also, That's still very doable. Alternate 2 and alternate 2B are both frost walls or grade-on beam construction. And I'll explain that in just a second. I want to move on to alternate 3. Alternate 3 is reduced asphalt. So we'd be using more crusher dust around the building, which is kind of what we currently have. We're fine with that. If we find out it doesn't work, that's always something that we can take a look at more in the future. I think the challenge right now is let's make sure we can get the building built. So alternate 3 is the reduced asphalt around the building, which will still be fine for the vehicles pulling around in a circular fashion. And alternate 4 is changing from a metal roof to a shingle roof. Now, a metal roof is obviously better, longer lasting, but again, my main thing right now is let's get the building built. If it was a picnic shelter like we currently have, or our parky shacks where kids literally climb up on the roof and think it's fun to pull the shingles out, I would say that's a concern. But this is a bigger building, with a much higher area. It's not going to be easily accessible for kids to climb up on top of. So quite honestly, you got a good, 30-year shingle on there or whatever, or a 15-year shingle, whatever, it's going to last. So I'm not concerned about that. So our recommendation is to accept alternate 4 for a deduct of $38,000, switching to a shingle roof from a metal roof. Now remember, these are ARPA dollars, and there's certain dollars that are assigned to all the projects that the village has. Ours is not the only project. So as much as I'd like to have, I don't want to say the Cadillac, but all the nice things, to get the project done, we're going to have to cut a few things, no different than what we had to do with the community facility projects back in 2015.
Rex?
Yeah.
For the architectural design of that shed, do you know what the roof pitch is?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Okay.
Dean. Sorry. So moving back to alternate 2. So alternate 2, even though it's a fairly good cost savings of $40,000, that's switching from a frost wall to a grade-on beam. A grade-on beam is a different type of construction where you're dealing more with footings, with cross beams, rather than excavating the whole thing. In a nutshell again. What a frost wall does, if you do a frost wall, is it allows you to basically heat the building in the future, or currently. Now, we have no plans to heat this building, or at least I don't. But we don't know what the future holds. I mean, whether it be 10 years from now, whether it be 20 years from now, if for some reason we ever wanted to heat that building, something happened here, or we needed more space, we needed a second work area, something, and we couldn't use the chalet anymore, because right now we use the chalet for a lot of our construction projects, picnic table repairs, things like that. If we do the grade-on beam, that would not work out well for heating. So by doing a frost wall, you have the ability to have that option, 10, 15, 20 years from now if you ever wanted to do that. And I think that's important. I probably won't be around at that point in terms of working for the village, so not my worry, but if we want my recommendation, which is what I have on here, it is to have that frost wall. So that option is available in the future in case it's ever discussed, hey, we should do this, and oh no, we can't do that now. So I think for the amount of money that it has, having that ability to do that in the future is worthwhile. So our recommendation is to throw out alternate 2. Alternate 2A and 2B were the 2 different size buildings, and continue on with the frost wall. So with that long-winded explanation of all the different options, I will ask if anyone has any questions on the building. Again, it's a very simple building. It's on concrete. We will have it'll be lit. Right now, we have no electricity. So at night, when we're putting away stuff for our food truck rallies or any of our special events, all we're doing is, we literally have our cell phones out to see what we're doing inside of the building, put stuff away. That's not the way to go. So this will have basic electricity, a couple of outlets inside, and it'll have a simple spigot On the exterior of the building, if we need to wash anything off. There's no sink or no drinking fountain or anything like that. It's a simple spigot on the exterior of the building for maintenance.
Is there water running out there right now?
There is a water line that goes along the roadway, so it would be a short run. So they tap that main water line and just run it over to the building.
Yeah.
So Rex, you're looking at alternate 1 as a recommendation and also at 3 and 4
Correct.
included?
To accept those deducts.
Okay, so that brings you down to 365,000.
Correct.
And that money is available?
Actually, does that bring us down to 365?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. The building itself, and then with the engineering fees, which aren't included in, you're close to 400.
Do you know what those are?
We're probably around 35,000 when it's all said and done for the engineering fees and remember, we bid it twice now, and now with the deducts, they'll have to redo the plans to account for the deducts. So that's just the way it is. But so my recommendation, so we have 368 tab for it, right around in that neck of the woods, and then we've got additional ARPA money that the village / administration and finance department says we can slide over to make this project happen as it's presented.
So, yeah, Dean, the kind of target figure that we're working from is $400,000 all in total project cost. That's construction, engineering. So if we can stay right around that figure, we should be able to complete the other projects that were earmarked for the dollars that ARPA were assigned as part of our 23 budget.
Okay.
And then to answer your other question, I did pull up the plan set. The roof pitch is a 312.
What did the low bid come in at last time?
The low bid came in right around that same amount, but the deducts were a lot more.
Okay.
I think one bid was around in this area, Chris, if I'm remembering right. The other bid was, and we had a couple high bids as well. The other bid was over 500, I think, in the initial round.
Yeah.
For the second bid. Part of that was just the timing of it. Timing is everything, right? So I don't think we got the first bids out until June, July, which really limits the amount of time to be able to put into your building schedule if you're a contractor. With us getting this out when we did and now approving it in January, they've got a lot bigger window, and potentially they can do it during maybe a slower time, which is the reason why some of these costs are a little bit lower, or quite a bit lower actually than it was before. We were not able to do it with the first round of bids.
Right.
And Rex,
I
do you have,
don't even think we're close.
Yeah.
I don't know how far you've looked into this, but as far as asphalting the roof or, shingling the roof, do you have any idea of what shingles the contractor is looking at with regards to that roof?
I don't have that done. McMahon made up all the specs for us.
Okay. The only thing I was wondering about, you had mentioned that the pitch is 312, which is a relatively flat roof, with regards to shingles. And my concern would be water damming up underneath, just to make sure that there's enough snow and ice shield underneath those shingles. Just a consideration.
I think it's common practice for the first, I think it ends up being 6 feet of the bottom eaves and then up the edge.
Yeah, code
The ice
code
and
is
water.
3 feet, and I just had several buildings shingled, and I went up 6 feet, and one building I actually snow and ice shield the whole building.
It's my concern too at a 3 pitch that I wonder if there's any way to consider it being a 5 pitch, which would give you extra drainage, especially not if you're going to take the steel off. At 3 pitch, there's a lot of snow that it just sits there and melts and ice dam, and I don't know if there's any extra cost to putting up to 5.
There would be,
I don't know, I know there would be additional engineering costs on it at
Yeah.
this point. I mean, I don't think, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm going to say I don't think it would be designed to cause us issues moving forward. I mean, like, I trust McMahon in that. I'm sure there's always things that could be done better or differently, but this is where we're at right now. I mean, it's something that I can bring up with them and with the contractor, whatever gets approved tonight, and see if it's an easy, or what their thoughts on it are. But this is what we got right now.
well, if you could, I would press the issue if they could throw in a little more snow and ice shield, from the eve on up. So,
Well, and maybe you can check before village board, and the recommendation from here would be what you gentlemen are saying, that, we want to look at the roof and make sure, and then Rex could maybe have time between to figure that out and get a price or whatever the case may be and see where it's at, because that's a really good comment you guys have on that.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. You guys seem to know the business, but
Yep.
I agree with Rex too, that, you've worked with these guys in the past and you're comfortable with them steering us in the right direction. But maybe it's something that you just kind of bring up and say, is there any concern here with, and I'm sure they're going to give you a detailed explanation and why or why not.
Yep. No, that's easily done before village board.
All right. Any other questions?
The crusher dust then, with that, if we take out the asphalt and put the crusher dust in, one of the,
There's still asphalt around it, it's just, it's not going to be
Yeah.
as wide.
and the good part is that you can repair or replace as needed, right? I mean,
If it's found that we would like to have more asphalt in the future, you can easily,
Yeah.
you can easily add more.
but the crusher dust you deal with all the time anyway, so you'll have,
And that's what's around our building right
yeah,
now.
so you're comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with that.
So is the asphalt out to the drip line of the building then, Rex? Do you think that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The asphalt that we're reeling back in a little bit is the outer
Outer part.
asphalt.
I'm cool with that.
All right. Anything else?
And this also, if I'm remembering right, this also includes a small fenced area, so there will be a privacy fence where we'll be able to keep our picnic tables and our extra garbage cans and some of those other things which are kind of more out in full view right now,
Yeah, That'd be good.
which we'd rather have screened a little bit.
that'd be nice.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid with the inclusion of alternate 1, 3, and 4, and also with looking into if they could improve the snow and ice shield to protect those shingles.
Do you need to put in there what contractor at all?
Yeah, you recommend that IEI.
i.e., maybe add that. Dean?
Yeah, by IE.
I'd second then.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the Ashwaubomay Maintenance Building bid recommendation. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right. B, Park Rec and Forestry individual reports. Rex.
Well, we're hitting the ground running. Obviously, we have a number of senior programs happening on a weekly basis. Rookie basketball just started up. The young ninja class is starting up. So we've got a lot of fun little classes starting up that have some really good attendance. In terms of aquatics, Melody had a couple of special holiday swims where there's Christmas games and things like that happening. We had more than 200 people in attendance for those each day, which was great. There were some fairly large swim meets that we've hosted in the last couple of months, both high school, when we're talking sectionals, as well as swim club. And we've got a huge one coming up in February. I don't know if it's on here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is coming up on February 24th through 26th. We're hosting the state 10U. So that will literally be, about 1,000 swimmers. And then, if every swimmer brings like a parent or two or a relative, you're talking, probably 2,000 to 3,000 people coming in just for that event.
Do we know how big the previous meets were?
This is the first time we've hosted the event. This is,
No, I mean like the other ones, like the swim club and the, like the high school stuff that went on. Have we ever hosted to that capacity before?
this will be our largest meet. The largest meet previously beforehand was the YMCA has rented our pool for a number of years for their giant yearly meet.
Okay.
But I don't believe they had like anywhere close to 1,000 swimmers.
Okay.
So they're working very closely. They're going to be using the cafeteria. They're going to be using some additional auxiliary rooms within the school, the hallways. They've got it all planned out. Melody and Megan Oberstadt, who's the coach, is going to be working with the school district on room reservations, and she's been coaching for a long time, number of years now, and been to a lot of big meets. So, and she's very conscious of how she wants this meet to be. So while it'll be a good challenge, I know that she'll do a good job with it.
So do you know the dance team competition that comes? Do you know the numbers of that? Like how many that attracts, if that's comparable or not? I know that's the field house versus
The dance one is the
pool.
largest dance competition in the state.
Yeah. Well, I know it's huge, but I also know that they all went there and scoped it out, the swim board. So they went and scoped it out.
I don't think it's as big as the dance competition.
Okay.
But it's still.
Right.
There'll be people parking, I think, down at the community center for it.
At least.
Yeah, it'll be a big one, which is awesome. I mean, this is exactly what we were hoping to try and be able to bid on, when we were looking to get our new
Pool put
pool
in.
built.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate you guys on getting that. That's huge to get that meet. And
It's the
whoever
swim
put all the
club. That's
paperwork
all-
in and did
yeah,
it, tell them they
It's all
did a great
Megan.
job.
Megan did a great job in the swim club under her leadership of organizing it and putting in the bid. And I know she, had to go and present, because other cities, it's just like softball tournaments,
Right.
Tracy.
Yeah.
You go and, to the governing board and you present why you think you should be able to host it and what amenities you'll be able to offer. So I'll pass that on to her.
Yeah, I mean, the economic impact of that meet is going to be huge, especially in the wintertime, getting people into our
Yep.
community is huge.
A lot of heads in beds.
Yep.
So aquatics are going good. We've got a fair amount of people. Also, our swim numbers are slowly creeping back up. We're not quite to pre-COVID numbers yet, but we have 126 participants in our swim lesson program right now. So that's still pretty good. And then our master's swim clinic on Sundays, which goes for a number of weeks, has over 25 people in it. So that's been going well. Right now, I think the majority of what we're doing is prep work. For the summertime, our brochure goes to the publisher. We always have a March 1st deadline. So that's really in about 6 weeks. So we literally have to have our whole summer schedule planned out through August within the next 6 weeks. So David's working with day camp. Mel's obviously working, for training dates for the lake. And, we're all working on staffing. We've sent letters out to last year's staff with updated pay rate scales, which is much appreciated, to hopefully get a lot of kids back who worked for us already last year. So that's already been done. David's working with the day camp program, all the summer classes, the Parkey program, planning out trips, because again, all this has to be in the brochure, so all the trips have to be booked, the buses need to be booked, to make sure we have everything that we need for the day camp program, for the summer park program. I am working with I'm working with the bands right now to put together a band menu with bands and their costs for both the Wednesday summer concert series as well as the food truck rally series. And we've also sent out probably 30 inquiries to different food trucks around the Green Bay area of whether or not they'd be interested in joining our rally this year. So I'm starting to get those back in and making a list of what trucks are interested for each night, and then eventually we'll decide what trucks we assign to each night. We usually get eight or nine trucks. Our rallies started to get a little bit bigger last year, so we may have the opportunity, especially in midsummer, to go up to 9 trucks versus the 8 that we've had. Especially since usually 1 or 2 of those are dessert trucks. That kind of makes the food trucks really busy, so we'll see what happens. So again, a lot of prep work right now that's happening. And
Are the free lunches happening again this year?
free lunch will be happening again at Fort Howard. I've not heard otherwise.
Not by the middle school again?
I don't think we had it at the middle school last year.
Okay.
I think that was a COVID thing where we also had it at.
I don't know, my kids came home with lunches and they hated them, so.
Well, the school,
They're still
the school
probably in
district
my
might be
freezer.
the school district might be offering it. We're
Okay.
we're not able to offer it
Through Park and Rec.
through Park and Rec.
Got it.
I know at Smith Park, just because that was a COVID thing with extra funding that was out
Got it.
there. But Fort Howard still qualifies, and I want to say we're giving like over 30 lunches a day, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly. Questions on anything that may be in here, or in forestry, I'm sorry, I forgot forestry. How can I do that? The Trios, who has the bid for our EAB removal, those should be starting up within a couple of weeks.
Is tree removal on track as far as like what the village is working on?
I'd say we're probably behind a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of trees, and
I was
and
just
the
curious.
contractor is.
My trees aren't down yet, so I was just.
is overwhelmed, and but they are assuring us that they'll be out shortly to start the assigned area, which will be west of Highway 41, probably up to and maybe including a little bit north of 172. That's this year, and then in '24 will be the rest of the village to the south.
It was sad to see the big trees at Clipstein that went down.
Oh.
It's like, are those oaks? I'm assuming they were.
Yeah, those are oak. So we got a couple things going on. I mean, obviously, we took a lot of stuff down that was ash, but unfortunately, we're having some oak issues in there, and it's not oak blight. It is
It's oak wilts or no?
an oak borer
Oh,
that's in there, and what's happening, according to Tim. This has been going on for a couple of years now, with some of the remediation that took place, where we had to raise the baseball diamond and so on and so forth. There's been a change in water pattern, and oaks don't take that very well. So the park's been, it was already a somewhat wet park. It's become even wetter with that, and that's put the stress on the tree. And unfortunately, the bugs found it, and it spread very quickly. So literally 1 week, a tree can be green, and the next week, it's totally dead and brown. And that's what we're finding with a number of the trees. So we're replanting with different species. We're trying to replant some oak trees, obviously, because they take a long time to grow. But the swamp white oaks work better in wetter soil conditions. So we're trying to replace trees that do better in wet soil as we take stuff down. But yeah, it affects everything.
Yeah.
Tracy, I mean, it just that there's some beautiful,
yeah. They're
just
big.
beautiful trees that we lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and summer concerts, it affects the summer concerts as well because
yeah.
of the shade that people want when they're listening, so. But we're trying to plant them out there as quick as we take them down, so.
That's good. That's all you can do. I just had a question on the DNR grant, like you said about the Phase 2 of the NRDA and GLRI grant program. Is there any concern with the work we're doing with the bridge that, you know, the pilings that we're going to put in? Will that affect our status for that at all? No, okay.
No. No, the DNR is fully on board with that. In fact, we're meeting with them this Friday morning with 2 representatives from the DNR that'll present some of the things that they're hoping to have done, both at the exit to Ashwaubomay Creek and also at Dutchman's Creek over by the Railroad Museum. So there's 2, both areas are looking, so they're looking at additional fish habitat, they're looking at shoreline stabilization, and they're looking at invasive species removal as well, as long as we can continue up with what we've been doing.
When you said even
we've been
kayak,
able to. What's that?
even some kayak launches maybe?
Well,
Or a kayak
that's
launch?
what we're going to talk about
That'd be great.
with these 2 grants, and they need to be matching grants, which is why they both qualify to match each other.
Oh.
So the village doesn't necessarily have to put forth
Nice.
funding on this. We don't think, but that's all what will be worked out on Friday. Or we hope to have things worked out for a presentation in the month of February. I'll probably do the presentation to the park board. And then I think the DNR will be at the village board meeting in February as well. But there is I believe there's a recreational aspect to the grant. And I believe a kayak launch area might qualify. So we're going to try and tie that all in. And, you know, we were hoping to get the whole trail around the park done at the same time as the kayak launch, but if that funding is available now, you know, we might just take a look at that kayak launch a little earlier. So,
Sounds good. Thank you.
I saw online an article in a local paper, but I couldn't access it, mentioning Ashwaubenon hiring or looking for swim instructors, I think it was. Are we short there? Is that making any headway?
I think we are. I don't think we're short. I mean, I think Mel is doing a good job. She just got done with a lifeguard training class this past weekend. I believe it had 8 people in it and 7 passed. So
Was it lifeguard? Do you know what article I'm referencing?
it was a lifeguard, and she
Oh, it was
also was on
okay.
Fox 11 last week with Emily Deem. And so there was on Fox 11 in the morning show. So I want to knock on wood. The pay bump, which puts us on the same level as De Pere and the city of Green Bay, has helped. Melody said she's already had a couple staff people who left, who are now interested in coming back. But now the challenge is, if the people who worked last year want to stay at their jobs, some of those people who left, we might not be able to get back in. So we're hoping that's the case, because that means we're full.
Yeah.
And we'll get them in as at the very least as a sub. But that pay rate increase that put us at the same level as the other surrounding communities really helped, at least in terms of aquatic staff, because she's gotten some good feedback from her people. So letters are out to the other groups as well, the parkies, day camp people, park maintenance, forestry, special children's workers. So we're waiting to get feedback from them on return status.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anybody? Nope. Items for next agenda. Anybody got anything we want to look at?
Not
Oh,
off the
I
top
do.
of my head.
Okay. Something comes up, we can contact Rex, I'm sure, and get it added. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
This conference is